Well, good morning, folks. Good morning on this fine Thursday morning. I'm just going to take here 15, 30 seconds to let folks cascade in because it takes a little bit of time. So just bear with us as we have folks continue to join. I hope you're here to see AI in action, practical ways to save hours every week, because that's what we're going to be talking about. All right. Well, it's just past 8:30, so let's get underway. I think we got a good number of folks who are coming in, and I'm very excited to welcome you to our third session of the 2025 Small Business Week Summit, and our session today on practical ways to save hours every week. So I'm Alex McMillan. I'm the interim CEO of the BC Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are broadcasting this important conversation from the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I would also acknowledge that many of you and many of us are joining from other areas and other traditional territories throughout the province. Um, as the large business organization in the province, representing over 80 chambers of commerce and boards of trade, and collectively 32,000 businesses of every size and from every sector and region of British Columbia, the BC Chamber of Commerce has unrivaled reach into all corners of the province and a deep understanding of what business needs. And it's that reach that has allowed us to curate the content for Small Business Week and create this summit with content that we hope will inspire you, stretch your mind, give you confidence and practical tools to try and apply new things in your business and your work every day. As always, events like this would not be possible without the generous support of our partners. And it is through their business leadership that we're able to enjoy this province and the work that we do, and we don't take it for granted. I'd like to thank our 2025 Small Business Week sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is BC Hydro, and our session sponsors are Chambers Plan Employee Benefits and the Immigrant Employment Council of BC. And our community sponsor is BCIT School of Business and Media. I would also like to thank our pillar partners, many of whom may be joining us today, and so thank you very much. Our pillar partners are the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, CN Rail, Enbridge, Fortis BC, LNG Canada, Prince Rupert Port Authority, RBC, Tourmaline, and the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority. A sincere thank you to all for your support today and throughout the year. Before we begin today's session, I would like to take a moment here to introduce Ramon Salinas, Regional Marketing Director of Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, today's session sponsors, to say a few words. Ramon.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. Yeah, it's my pleasure today to sponsor this morning's session. And I'm very excited to see what's in store because it's a very relevant and important topic, both today and for business going forward. As Alex mentioned, I'm the Regional Marketing Director for the Chamber's Group Insurance Plan in BC and Yukon. And we are both proud partners of the BC Chamber of Commerce, as well as over 900 chambers and boards of trade across the country. And Chambers Plan supports over 30,000 small and medium-sized businesses from coast to coast. Chambers Plan does have several unique features that make it a great fit for small to medium-sized businesses. One very important one is that there are no barriers to entry. And so that means whether you are a sole proprietor working as a home-based business, or you're running a corporation with 20, 30, 50, or even more employees, Chambers Plan will be able to put together a customized benefit program for you and your employees at affordable and sustainable rates. Well, which brings me to another one of the unique features, and that is the pooling model that Chambers Plan offers for the premiums and the claims. And again, this allows the premiums, the ongoing premiums and renewals of Chambers Plan to be more predictable, more stable, and most importantly, sustainable long-term for your small business, which of course is very important. In a nutshell, Chambers Plan really, it can offer comprehensive group benefits and customizable group benefits with an ease of use. It's very user-friendly with their interfaces. And once again, at those stable and sustainable premiums. If anybody is looking for any more information on Chambers Plan or looking at getting benefits within their business, please, you can go to and get more information at chamberplan.ca. Again, I'll say that again, chamberplan.ca. And you can also just reach out to your local chamber or board of trade, and they will be able to put you in touch with one of our advisors who then in turn will be able to provide you with a quote and give you any information you need and answer any questions you have about benefits and about Chambers Plan. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Alex, and we can get on with the exciting session that we have in store for us today. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Ramon, and thank you to the Chambers Plan for your support for this session and your ongoing partnership with the BC Chamber of Commerce. Really pleased to be partners with you. All right, before we get underway and off to the exciting part of the today's session with Trevor, I just want to cover off some how we want to make this a little bit interactive if we can. And so Trevor, I know, is happy to take questions. So if you want to send Trevor a question, which I'll help moderate after his presentation, please use the Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen, the one with the box and the question mark. That way we can see the questions come in and try and group some that might be similar and get as many questions in as we can. So please use that and send them in as you think of them. So I guess without further ado, I am pleased to welcome our speaker for today's session, Trevor Bruintjes. Trevor, how do you say your last name?
Like breakfast and lunches, I'm Trevor Bruintjes.
Trevor Bruintjes. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Trevor is an AI strategist and fractional chief AI officer at Peaks and Valleys AI Strategies. I've had the pleasure of talking with Trevor a few times. He has, I can say from personal experience, helped me and helped me find new productivity, new ways to increase my productivity. And so I'm really pleased that he's here to share his knowledge with everybody. Trevor, thank you for joining us today on the virtual stage. I and we are very excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll just wait for the slide to switch over here. Yes, I am Trevor Bruintjes. I am a fractional AI officer. I'm an AI educator. Who knew that we needed one of these way back when with this whole AI revolution that's going on? So this is a modified AI 101. This is just going to be an introduction to generative AI for small businesses. And this is part of a partnership program between Copper Teams, myself, and a few others we are provincial partners as well with the BC Chamber of Commerce. So there are lots of misconceptions about artificial intelligence. There is wonder and there is fear, and it's quite incredible that we have these two options. Some of us are thinking that we're going to end up like Terminator or iRobot, where the world is going to be ruled by the artificial intelligence, and the others are thinking that we're going to end up in a utopian world, more like Star Trek or maybe even sort of Star Wars. And the truth is that AI isn't about replacing humans. It's about making us more human. It's about, we're at the beginning stages of this AI adoption. ChatGPT only came out in November of 2022. But AI is already making an impact across all sorts of industries. AI is not a magic bullet, though. It's a tool, and like every tool, the power comes from knowing how to use it. And I'm going to share with you some little tips and tricks on how to do it. Most importantly, I want you to come through today, inspired and not intimidated. Small business, I believe, has the greatest potential with artificial intelligence. You guys can pivot quicker than large corporations. And I think that You don't have to be a tech expert. The small business owner, an entrepreneur, regular people who want to work smarter, not harder, will really benefit from the having artificial intelligence. So let's dive in and get on with this. So why AI? Well, it's about return on investment. The direct return on investment and productivity gains from AI for small business, for every dollar that you're going to invest or hour that you're going to invest, I think you're going to see a $3.7 return on that. And that's not my statistic. This either comes from the BDO, MIT, or the Bank of Canada. I regularly see users save up to 100 hours, hundreds of hours every year by learning how to use the tools that is artificial intelligence. Things will get done 40% faster, productivity gains 30% better. What is artificial intelligence? Well, artificial intelligence just refers to the idea that computer systems that can perform tasks requiring human-like intelligence. Just really smart computers. This isn't new. In 1956, a bunch of smart guys got together in Dalhousie University and started hypothesizing about the machine becoming as smart as a human or doing human-like stuff. And they coined the phrase artificial intelligence. If we watch the movie Hidden Numbers, we saw the early big giant computers, the size of rooms, the size of motorhomes, that people were putting punch cards in to do data analytics. In the early 90s, personal computers were on everybody's desk at work and possibly at home. Deep Blue turned up, and that was a computer built by IBM that beat the world's best chess player at the time, Garry Kasparov. That's when the aha moment for a lot of us came in, where these computers really showed the potential there. In the early 2010s, we started to see predictive analytics. We started to see Alexas. We started to see Siri in our phone. We started to see Netflix providing us suggestions as to movies we liked. These were early parts of it. In the late 2010s, we started to see the idea that we could get natural language processing, talking in English or typing in English or any language into a computer, and out came meaningful results. And of course, November of 2022, ChatGPT was released. And our lives quite haven't been the same since. I'm going to get on a soapbox here for a second. AI is about amplified intelligence. Everybody has come today with education, knowledge, wisdom, and a set of information within your head. And that plus AI makes it a super tool. AI is going to give you some time back, but we live in a world today where we wear our busy badge. How are you, Alex, today? Oh, I'm so busy. And it becomes this thing that we have all done. And now AI is going to give us some time back. This is where I think that human aspect comes in. We have the opportunity to be more present for your employees, more present for your clients, more present for your family. How about even more present for yourself? Simon Sinek, has a couple great quotes, but I like this one. Human skills like empathy, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, and creativity will gain value as AI manages routine tasks. We're going to become more human. We're going to have the opportunity to have more time to be more human. But this is very much an individual thing. This is why I think small business has the greatest gains in artificial intelligence, and it's because it's very individual, it's very bespoke. Everybody came today with a set of skills. When we add artificial intelligence, we add large language models to this, that's when it becomes a superpower. But everybody's going to use it differently. There's no one size fits all. There's no, I just want an AI to come in and run my business. That's not how this is going to work. Everybody's going to use it slightly differently. Where are we today? I know a lot of you feel overwhelmed. That's why you're here. AI is in the news and you're getting bombarded constantly with AI this and AI that and ChatGPT and OpenAI and all of this other stuff. But here's kind of the truth of the matter. This is a tech adoption curve. This is how humans adopt technology. And we've gone through this curve so many times that you probably don't even realize it. The early innovators of the cell phone spent $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a phone the size of a suitcase, and they put it in their car that only worked in Los Angeles or New York. Then, and they started the whole idea of mobile phones. Then we got into the early adoption. We had many options, Motorola, BlackBerry, Ericsson, and so many more. And the price of the phones came down. We then went through the chasm. When we went through the chasm, something happened. We chose smartphones, of course, and Apple or Android. We've done this with computers. Back in the 80s, it was Tandy 4D. It was Commodore 64. It was a Coco 2. It was the earliest Macintosh. We kind of went through the chasm. Thank you, IBM. And the Apple computer made it through. And I can go on. Websites, flat screen TVs. We've done this over and over again. The truth is that we're still here in the visionary stage of artificial intelligence. That's why there's so many options for you. Think about how many options of cell phone you used to have. Now there's so many different options. Everybody's trying to get into the AI game, and it can become overwhelming. We haven't gone through the chasm yet. And when we do, that's when things really go crazy. Remember when nobody had a website and then everybody needed to have a website? Well, we're not quite there yet. So if you feel behind, welcome. You're now a visionary, an early adopter of artificial intelligence just by being here today. So congratulations on that. Goldman Sachs sent out this: 25% of all work tasks across all industries can be automated by artificial intelligence. 25%. What are you going to do with 25% more time? But that's all industries. Let's go way over here on the left. And office and administrative support, 46% of their tasks can be automated. Why? It's repetitive. It's data entry. AI is going to do this faster and with less errors, as long as we have the right tools. Legal. A lot of legal contracts are just rinse repeat. Let's just punch in a bunch of these paragraphs and poof, we have a legal document. Well, AI is great at that kind of stuff. Way over here on the other end, we have building and ground cleaning and maintenance, 1%. Of course, if they're out there with their hands, they probably don't need a lot of AI. But the business owner that owns the building and grounds cleaning and maintenance company, he could use AI. He could use it to streamline some of his processes to make things better. Absolutely. Let's differentiate here what's a digital tool and what's a large language model. I'm going to talk about large language models here. A digital tool is something that somebody's made with a great user interface, your interaction with the program that does something specific, but it does it with human-like intelligence. A computer that does human, and they have many, many of them. This is a really old slide, actually, from March of 2023. This is probably 10 times, 100 times bigger already. But it just goes to show how many different types of tools have AI built into them: audio, speech, text translation, visual images, video, 3D simulation, general productivity, and so on. I like these ones, these general productivities. You'll see that somebody's Fathom, Firefly, or Otter has entered the room when you have a Zoom meeting. All that's doing is taking all the words that are being said in the Zoom and transcribing them. I like another one called Rewind AI. It sits on your phone and it can take the meeting minutes. If you're on a board of directors or you want to record meeting minutes, maybe Rewind.ai might be a good one for you. I think this is one of the 3 things that we should get used to using, because it's going to remember better than we are when we do stuff. But this also contributes to that AI slop. All of that confusion and stuff before we go through the chasm is because we have so many new tools being developed. But here's the thing. Think of these tools like sandcastles on a beach. And every time there's a new announcement about something new with AI, a big tidal wave comes and removes a whole bunch of these sandcastles right off the beach. Tome, for instance, I used to use it to make a table of contents into a PowerPoint presentation. It was amazing. It's already gone. It's already been replaced. ChatGPT last week came out with some announcements about some stuff. It wiped a whole industry. That is a fledgling industry last week. Caused them, and people had been already investing billions of dollars into these companies, and now they're going, okay, what are we going to do? It's going to be crazy until we go through that chasm. Just take it easy. Be patient. Things will get sorted out here soon enough. Most of you don't realize, but right now we're in the world of 3 different types of AI. Today, we're going to focus on generative AI. What is generative AI? Well, it's ChatGPT. ChatGPT generates original content, text, images, code by learning from vast data points. I want you to kind of get that in your head. It's creating anything that comes out of ChatGPT is original content, but it's learning from vast data sets. Well, the big announcement last week from OpenAI was about agentic AI. They're rolling out, it was kind of in the background for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And now they've created a better user interface that AI can now act independently. This week, they announced their own web browser that will do stuff automatically, like order something on Amazon if you link all the accounts. Yes, it's going to ask you first if it wants to allow it to use your credit card. But we're just starting to see the beginning parts of agentic AI. And quantum AI is beyond probably any perception, human perception. It's giant computing. And it's starting to happen as well, but way, way in the early stages of that. Generative AI, let's talk about this for a second. I think one of the questions were to ask about the different large language models. Well, here we have ChatGPT. Most of us know this one because it's in the news mostly. But there are lots of other large language models. What is a large language model, Trev? Well, it's just an advanced AI system designed to understand, generate, and interact with human language. We can type in a prompt and something comes out. They process vast amounts of text data to predict and produce meaningful responses or text based on the text they receive. So we type in a prompt and something cool comes out. That's what ChatGPT does. It's predictive analytics. ChatGPT is 60 billion parameters of information. One of the things I want to be clear is when we type in a prompt or we upload a file, it doesn't automatically become 60 billion in one. It's not growing. OpenAI has set the 60 billion and said, you know what, this is going to handle 95% of the queries that we're going to have. And each one of these has a different billions of set of parameters. How did those parameters come to be? Well, ChatGPT said they went out into the World Wide Web and they grabbed anything that wasn't nailed down and they trained a model. They're being sued for copyright because they didn't ask permission first, but that's beside the point. But that's how they trained their model. Claude did the same thing. It trained the model based on things. They said they did it correctly and asked permission, mind you. Grok, maybe some of you have heard of Grok, maybe some of you have not, but Grok is a large language model built on Twitter data. It's Elon Musk's large language model. Gemini is Google. Google trained their model on everything that we've given them permission to. I agree to the terms and conditions. Google, use my YouTube videos to train a model, and that's what they did. Llama is a model for Meta. Meta is Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. They created a model that's 405 billion parameters. Now, it's a developer-only model. There's not a lot of user interfaces that directly link you to Llama. What do developers use it for? Well, guess what? We've said you can use my images, and there's billions and billions of images that we've uploaded to Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, and they're using that to train a model, and it's good at text to image, text to video, those types of things. Why am I telling you this? Well, I want to tell you this because each of those billions of parameters give each one of these a different vibe, a different personality. I don't like to personify these things, but a different vibe. For all those of you who like Big Bang, ChatGPT is like Sheldon. Give him a quick question, he'll give you a little bit of a bazinga answer. Claude is like his girlfriend Amy, a little more personal, a little bit better at English, a little bit easier to take. Grok is a little weird. It's like Wallowitz. And Gemini could be like Leonard, and maybe Koothrappali is like Llama. You've noticed that I've skipped over Copilot a few times now. I want you to know that Copilot is Microsoft. Microsoft owns a large chunk of ChatGPT, a large chunk of OpenAI. Copilot is a stripped down version or a different version of ChatGPT. But just like everything Microsoft, if you've been around for a while and you've seen some Windows outputs and some of the original Word or Excel or anything that came out Microsoft, it takes them a little while to get the refinement right. Copilot is definitely Penny in the conversation. She's smart, but she's not as smart as the friend she hangs out with on the Big Bang Theory. NVIDIA, of course, if you own NVIDIA stock over the last couple of years, congratulations, largest company by market capitalization in the world. Why? It's creating the backbone of this AI infrastructure. We'll start to hear things called Blackwell infrastructure when it comes to servers and server rooms. They're creating a personal server that can stay in your home with an AI on it. They're not creating a new large language model. They're actually optimizing other large language models, and they're building a stackable model. It's quite an interesting concept. And then we have Perplexity. Perplexity quickly replaces Google. Why? What do we hate about Google? Sponsored ad, sponsored website, sponsored website, sponsored website. Websites with great SEO, but maybe the information within those websites aren't necessarily relevant. And maybe the answer or the website that you're looking for is on page 3. Perplexity does that in 7 seconds and gives you just the relevant information. Perplexity is your new Google. And yes, Gemini has now added Google has added a little button that allows you to do something very similar. I just like the user interface with Perplexity. But they're trained on large data sets. When we type in a prompt, what it does is it goes out and it grabs a bunch of information and predicts an output. It's generating new outputs every time. I know that there's lots of questions around privacy. Each one of these large language models meets global compliance standards. GDPR, CCPA, HIPPA, whatever. They want to keep your data safe. And they are trying to make sure that it's intrackable and inaccessible. It aligns with all the other companies you already do business with: Google, YouTube, X, Meta, Netflix, Amazon, Apple. Even when you say I agree to the terms and conditions in your CarPlay for Ford, they all have strict data protection. But here's something else up here. ChatGPT does store and learn from chats if you're using the free version. Is it adding to the large language model the 60 billion parameters? No, it's checking to see, based on your account, how users are using it, what questions they're asking, to make sure that the 60 billion parameters are relevant. It also is there to see what patterns people have in what they're doing. If it's free, you're the product. They're using your information and your data. When you pay for it, you can turn that off. You can turn off the training part of ChatGPT. And this goes for most of your stuff. Most of the free stuff is you're training the large language model, but you're not training it. It's kind of like Amazon. You have an Amazon account and you've made a number of purchases and now it makes suggestions. ChatGPT manages your data the same way. It's gathering your information and then it's giving you predictions. So let's talk about how it works. One of the things we have to wrap our head around is that there's an infinite number of PhDs, an infinite number of encyclopedias, the largest library of information in the world, and it's at your fingertips because I can put ChatGPT or other large language models on my phone. How do we use it? We prompt. We use natural language, questions, instructions, files, knowledge. They go through the large language model and it generates an output. Writing, analytics, code, image, websites, spreadsheets, videos, infographics, you name it, it'll spit it out for you. But it's an infinite number of PhDs. There's an expert in everything here. So how does it really work? Well, we type in a prompt. It turns into zeros and ones and tokens. And if we're vague, ChatGPT will make an assumption about what you really want and add some information to it. Then it goes through the guardrails. Hey, ChatGPT, how do I make a bomb? And it won't let you. That's guardrails. It filters and checks for harmful content to make sure that you're inside the guidelines. Then it goes through a transformer model. This is just to take, you don't need all 60 billion parameters. You just need the ones that are relevant to what your prompting is. And that's what the transfer does, the transformer does. Then we apply the temperature and other settings. This is the customization. We're going to talk about this on another slide, but we adjust the creativity and style of the response. How did you want ChatGPT to respond? Well, we get to tell it, and that's applied here. Then the output may be filtered or re-ranked. It might be run through again. When a large language model hallucinates or the output isn't what you expected, there's a problem with one of these steps. And I'm going to assume it's somewhere here. We've let the large language model make some assumptions, or we didn't take the time to learn how to use it, and we didn't get to apply the custom settings. And what did Sheldon do? Bazinga. Gave you an output you weren't expecting. The number one problem still, and this has not changed in the last 24 months, is learning how to use it. The best practices is prompting. The first step in using AI is really understanding what is a good prompt. Now, I know that it's, somebody somewhere coined the phrase prompt engineering. Well, guess what? You don't have to be an engineer to create great prompts. Prompting is the strategic approach to communicating with AI systems. It involves providing specific intent, context, information to receive a tailored response. If we give a large language model these four things, the intention, I need to write an email to Alex. The content, Alex didn't like my presentation today. The information, the copy paste of Alex's email, and my response is be kind, professional, and thank him for his input and create me an output. If we give those four items, and I'm going to give you a fifth bonus item here in a couple slides, but if we put these four things into a large language model, less likely are we going to get a bazinga. Less likely is ChatGPT going to hallucinate and give us an answer we don't like. The best practices in prompting is context, context, context. Give the model a role. Act like an expert in staffing, in HR, in marketing, in dog grooming, in whatever we need it to be an expert in. Then we add more context. We tell it what format, what length, what level of detail, what tone. Hey, answer this in the style of Homer Simpson. We can do that. We can even provide it examples and data. Here's an example of a job ad that we put out that's not attracting Gen Z workers. Analyze this, or create me a new job ad for this new job that we've created. But this could be anything: sample text, data formats, templates, marketing copy. Specify your desired output. I need this in a report form, a summary form, bullet points. I'm ADHD. I like it in bullet points. Don't give me paragraphs. I don't got time to read that stuff. And then try to tell it what to do instead of what not to do. Don't tell it, don't do this. Now, you could tell it to not put so many emojis on my social media post and it'll listen. But avoiding this whole idea of trying to tell it what not to do, it reduces misunderstanding. But it's all about the context. So let's see this in motion. Skill is prompting. Make me a grilled cheese sandwich. Well, I can't make it for you, but here's a quick recipe. Cool. It answered my question. But what if we added more context? Create a recipe for a grilled cheese sandwich using whole grain bread, sharp cheddar cheese, a touch of garlic butter. The sandwich should be crispy on the outside, gooey on the inside, and should include a brief note on achieving the perfect golden brown crust. More context. A much better set of instructions for my recipe, and for the perfect golden crust, keep the heat at medium low and cook slowly. This ensures the bread crisps up evenly without burning it and the cheese melts thoroughly. Sounds like a good grilled cheese sandwich to me, but what if we added a little more context? I need you to be an expert chef. I need a recipe for a grilled cheese sandwich using whole grain bread, sharp cheddar cheese, a touch of garlic butter. The sandwich should be crispy on the outside, gooey on the inside, and it should include a brief note about achieving the perfect golden crust. Here's the fifth magic sauce. Ask me any questions you need to clarify any details to make this the best grilled cheese ever. When we invite a large language model to clarify any details that it was going to assume, we get a way better output. So what happened when I did this? Okay, let's get this grilled cheese just right. Now it's going to ask me some questions about my grilled cheese sandwich. Do you have a preference for whole grain bread? How much garlic butter? And is there any additional ingredients or seasonings, herbs to enhance the flavor? Now, if I were to upgrade this one little tiny bit, I would say, ask me these questions one at a time. And then it would ask me those questions one at a time. But for the sake of this slide not being 4 slides long, I said I liked onions. And it lumped all the questions together. But remember, I asked it to be an expert chef. Would an expert chef put raw onions on my grilled cheese sandwich? Heck no. It prepared caramelized onions. How to prepare caramelized onions. That's what an expert chef would do. And way down here, pressing. Wasn't in the last one, but gently press the sandwich. Ensure that the bread comes in even contact with the skillet, leading to a better, more uniform, crispy crust. This is a way better output. Why? I have all the pieces of the context put in there. And ask me any questions one at a time to make this a better prompt. Multimodality, for those of you who don't know, this is a new word. This is about, we don't just have to prompt. We don't have to just type text. Here's a picture I uploaded of the mountain in Smithers where I happen to live, way up here in northern British Columbia. And I said in great detail, describe this photo, and it does. This could be any file, document file, PDF, spreadsheet, presentation, image, code, zip file. Doesn't matter. You could take pictures of your fridge, your freezer, your cupboards, and your pantry and say, what's for dinner? And it'll give you a list based on all the ingredients you have in your house as to what you can make for dinner tonight. That's what the power of multimodality is. That's what the power of having it on your phone does. I'll give you some other examples in a little bit. Multimodality. Review this website and tell me what AI Edge does for small and medium-sized businesses. www. Copper Team's AI Edge program. Keep it to less than 1,000 words in paragraph form. Why did I have to add that paragraph form? Because I told my ChatGPT I like bullet points because I'm ADHD. So I had to clarify the output response. We can understand our competitors, summarize legal pages. How about extracting contact information? How about pull key offerings, website updates, or how about grants? We've used this for grants. Here's the Wet'suwet'en Forestry grant. Here's the grant application. Here's my project, and here's my community group. Fill in that PDF for me, and it gets us 80% there. Multimodality. How much time did I just save for somebody who's a grant writer? The second thing that I think everybody needs to get is deep research. Deep research just goes through and literally does what it says, does deep research. When do we want to do deep research? Well, we want to do deep research when we don't think in that 60 billion, we're asking such a specific question that in that 60 billion parameters, the information is going to be very, very little. If it's information that we need that's current, those large language models aren't updated every day. They could be 6 months behind, actually. But if we need relevant information about something today, we use deep research. The other time is, I like to do this. If there's many right answers, or if it's creativeness that we are desiring, just use a regular prompt. But when we have one right answer that we're looking for, use a deep research tool. Perplexity is a style of deep research. I gave you the example of it replaces Google. It'll go through about 20 web pages, summarize them, give you the output really, really quickly. It's fantastic at that. ChatGPT goes a little bit deeper and goes to about 50 websites and does a bunch of multi-scans and then creates a quick summarize of all that information. Gemini, depending on what you need, goes into the deepest research. It will go to 200. I used it, for example, out in Haida Gwaii to do a research paper on the invasive species of the conifer trees in Haida Gwaii. How much information on Haida Gwaii is actually in the large language model? How much information about the conifer trees and how much information about the invasive species? Not much. So what did it do? It went to 250 websites and gathered information before giving me an output. Deep research is something, the second thing we need to learn. We need a personal tool. Let's go here. We need to know a large language model. Get used to using a large language model. And yes, I know that there are spelling mistakes on this. It's because Gemini made this for me. But we need a large language model that you get used to. ChatGPT is a Swiss Army knife of large language models. I love it for all the different things. A personal assistant. I talked about Fathom, Firefly, or Otter that takes notes in Zoom. It will also take notes on your phone and in real world. I like Rewind, and I forgot to mention this back on the page about privacy. In Canada, we have to think about if our data is not stored in Canada, then it's not really our data. Now, our friends to the south said, hey, Canadians, good neighbors, we'll keep your data safe down here, but if Homeland Security needs to access it, we'll let them. Now, I'm sure Canada has similar rules, but to have safe data in Canada, we need to save it on Canadian servers. Rewind AI is a personal recorder that does text to transcript. The data stays on your phone. So right now, it's only available on iOS, Mac products, Apple products. I like it a lot. And then the deep research tool. You can use ChatGPT's deep research tool. It's pretty darn good. But guess what? Gemini also gives you some pretty cool ones for free as well. Gemini also created this. I gave it a prompt. I need a slide for my presentation deck, 3 essential tools that I think everybody should have. And it created this. Now, did Gemini on purpose misspell ChatGPT in Perplexity? I guess we'll never know. AI slop. This is why things are a little bit broken. 800 weekly ChatGPT users, 30 million of them pay for it. Less than 5 million of those who pay for it are using custom GPTs and projects. Projects are only available to those who pay. What am I trying to say? 98% of ChatGPT users are just dabbling in it. And it's really about how to learn how to use it. I liken it to that everybody that went to ChatGPT went out and bought a white pickup to own a fencing company. And everybody's driving around in the same white pickup. That's why when you get an email and you're like, that's ChatGPT, or you get a resume, that was ChatGPT. I know that that's AI. Why? Because nobody customized it. Everybody's driving around in the same white AI pickup from ChatGPT. Thank you. What happens when we customize it? Well, when we give ChatGPT some customization about what we do and how we want it to behave, it's like painting our pickup blue. And when we give it context about what we do personally, our business and what our personal values and morals and all that stuff, we lump that in there. That's like putting a logo under the pickup truck. When we learn how to use GPTs, which are like little agents that do certain things, that's like putting the tools in the back of your pickup. And when we learn to use projects, that's like getting a trailer full of tools. And when we pull up to a job site, we're ready to build a fence. This white guy and the guy in the white pickup, guess what? He can build a fence too, but he's going to spend a lot of time driving around town, wasting his time. Stop driving a white pickup. The return on investment. So you want the 370% return that AI promises. It doesn't happen by accident. You're going to need training to unlock that ROI. You're going to need to learn how to customize it. We need to close the skills gap. You lack internal skills, and that's the top barrier for adopting AI. Confident teams is higher returns. We need to train or be leaders in this for our employees, and there needs to be a mindset shift into a future-ready mindset. It's easy to revert back into the old way because I know how to do it, and it's easier up front. But you're going to need skills and training if you're going to want to master this. The AI Edge is a partnership program with the BC Chamber and Copper Teams. It's a 3-month skill program. We're going to save you 6 hours, get past the AI overwhelm. We're going to teach you tools, one-on-one coaching. It is eligible for the ETG grant. And we're going to future-proof your business. I'm going to put this slide up at the end, so if you need that QR code, it'll come up again. How can we use this in small business? Well, strategic plan. When was the last time we did a strategic plan? A SWOT, a mission, vision, value, and unique value proposition. In marketing, social media, images, branding. When was the last time you updated your logo? Sales. How about sales training, scripts, objection handling, product research? How about customer service? Wouldn't it be cool to have a chat bot that actually knew everything about your company and answered questions instead of being one of these if-then think tree chat bots? How about if we could handle complaints with a little more empathy? Chat AI can help you with that. Human resources. How about safety plans, standard operating procedures, job descriptions, hiring? I think HR could be the leader in AI in a larger organization. Financial management, we can do cash flows and budgets. Like, again, we have to be a little bit worried. Am I uploading my mother's maiden name, my bank account information into ChatGPT? No. We sometimes need to redact some of that information before we upload it. Absolutely. Personal effectiveness, meeting minutes. I talked about that voice transcription. I think those are important. And just this week, this whole idea of emails, calendars, and tasks being linked with AI happened. It's new. I think it's going to make us wildly more efficient. Key skill is prompting. If you go to pvais.ca, you can go to a prompt guide. You can take a screenshot of this, print it off, have it by your computer. Be an expert, add context, additional information, personal intent, ask questions. And I give you an example. If you need to reference that, go to pvais.ca. Key skill is prompting. Here's a prompt for a unique value proposition. Blah, blah, blah. Act as an experienced marketing copywriter who specializes in crafting authentic, memorable brand messages for local food business. We're a family-run, authentic Mexican taco stand on the highway by Cache Creek. If you haven't eaten there, it's pretty yummy. The stand is a roadside stop with a great vibe. And then I said, I know what you're thinking here. That's a long prompt, Trev. I could work faster than trying to think of this prompt. Well, guess what? I didn't make the prompt. I have an AI that makes the prompt. I created the PVAIS prompt guide builder, and if you take the AI Edge, you'll know how to build one of these things. What does it do? I tell it what I need. It asks me questions. It builds me a prompt to reduce the VAG so that I have a better output from AI. So I punched it in, act as an experience, and it gave me this gave me that whole thing. I punched that into ChatGPT, and it says, you know what? Here's a unique value proposition, real Mexican flavor right off the highway. Taco El Camino in Cache Creek, and it gave me that. And then playful, tagline, from our hands to your hungry hands, authentic Mexican taste made fresh every day. That's what a good prompt does. It gets you there. How about this one? This is going to blow people's brains out, I think. This is going to be fun. Okay. Happy Saturday, Trevor. This is Claude. It doesn't matter which large language model you use. I did I went out there and I did a prompt in ChatGPT, and then I brought it over to Claude. I said, I want you to be an expert spreadsheet designer. Design me a dashboard in expertise in dashboards and automations. Create a simple yet powerful Excel workbook for coaching business to track income and expenses. If you're a sole proprietor, you're always maybe searching how to track this. Well, what did I do? I punched that into Claude. It asked me some questions, and boom, download complete Excel file. This is a 5-sheet Excel file. All the sheets have the proper formulas in them, and they all interact properly with each other. It took 4.5 minutes, maybe 3.5 minutes to create this whole spreadsheet to track a sole proprietor's income and expenses. Maybe you need that. Maybe you need an expert in Excel, because we all know we have that Excel expert in our back pocket when we screw it up. Now you can have a large language model. How about a new website? Here, you're a brand strategist for a brand and a website copywriter. Your task is to redesign the website www.pvais.ca. Be inspiring, visionary, captivating. Claude, again, went to my website, analyzed my website, took my copy from my website and updated it and created me an HTML output. That's how AI makes websites. I can create an app exactly the same way. How about a standard operating procedure? I know we're all behind on that. We've created them. I did this for a bakery. What's on the agenda today? I need a standard operating procedure for the opening baker. Okay, here's the morning open standard operating procedure for opening baker. Start time 4 a.m. and it created this. Then I said, hey, you know what would be really cool if I had a checklist of this standard operating procedure? Boom, it created that too. How much time did I just save? Hours? Absolutely. I talked to you about using perplexity and multimodality. I just did this one. The electric starter on my snowblower isn't working and I need a new one. I went outside and I took a picture of the make, model, and serial of my 1991 Sears Craftsman snowblower. I took a picture of the snowblower as a whole, and I took a picture of the starter itself. Perplexity in minutes went to 11 different websites and went to YouTube and gave me a YouTube script on how I'm going to do it step by step, and it read the model number and aftermarket or OEM, and it told me at Total Parts Canada, and I can click that button, it'll take me right to the page so I can go buy that snowblower motor. This works for anything. Fire a picture off if you forgot what kind of ink that needs to go in your printer at work, take a picture of the printer and go, what's the model of ink that goes in here? Can it make mistakes? Absolutely. I gave it lots of context, make, model, and serial number. But that's how Perplexity works. I use it often for this. One of the questions was about, how can I use this for my dog training company? I asked Perplexity, okay, find me information on how to train a puppy on a leash. It went again to 16 sources, summarized them for me. I took that summary, I dropped it into ChatGPT, and for a prompt, I said, I need a prompt to create an infographic, because that was another question that was in the list of questions, is how do I create infographics? So I said, hey, ChatGPT, I need to create an infographic. Here's the information about training a puppy on a leash. Then I went to Gemini, because Gemini happens to be really good at infographics, and poof, out came an infographic. This took me minutes, not hours, to create this. And now ChatGPT links straight to Canva if we let it. I haven't used that feature yet. It's brand new. It's less than 10 days old. But like I said, to learn how to make this really, really work, you're going to need training. And that's what we do at the AI Edge. I'm going to leave this up for a couple seconds, but that is the end of my presentation. AI Edge is just 3 months, 1 hour a week for 3 months. We're going to teach you how to build that custom pickup. Actually, we're going to give you a Ferrari instead of a pickup, and we're going to load it up full of tools. You're going to learn how to save that time per week. So is your team if you get a whole bunch of them together to get in there. We're going to get you past that AI slop and that overwhelm before we get through the chasm. We're going to teach you which AI tools to use that are going to be most effective. You saw me use a whole bunch of them today, and that is just the drop in the bucket. We're also going to provide one-on-one coaching. You're going to spend time with me just like Alex did, and it's going to be like, holy moly, this is how it's going to work in my world. And like I said, it's ETG grant eligible. And we're going to future-proof your business. And leave this, just scan this. Go to copperteams.ai and go to the AI Edge tab if you're having troubles with the QR code. That's copperteams.ai. Scan the code. Register, get in line for for ETG, and get in line for the AI Edge program. All right, Alex, how about those questions? How are they coming?
We have quite a few questions.
I'm sure.
And we had some that arrived before, and I know you answered a few of those on there, and I've sort of been I didn't use AI. I know I could have, but I didn't use AI to group them. But I tried to do a little bit of that. So yeah, I mean, I know we're not going to get to all the questions, but I'm gonna hopefully try. I'm gonna start maybe at the top in the more philosophical concerns, and then let's go down into some more of those tactical and ones that you talked about. But I seem to see some issues around security concerns, right?
Sure.
Like, how do we know where the data is stored? Are there certain programs that are storing data here? And the other one that I thought was really good, from your experience, is there any data or anything that we should not be loading up to AI?
Yeah, I think so. I think anything that you wouldn't put in Google, right? I wouldn't upload my bank account information, my mother's maiden name, and any other pertinent information into Google, and I wouldn't do that on ChatGPT. How do we know where documents are where things are stored? Well, guess what? We got an AI for that. We can ask Perplexity. Is the data being stored from this particular company? Where is their data center? And Perplexity will go out and do some deep research about that. That's a great one to use Perplexity for. In Canada, there's no It's not by accident that most companies use Microsoft, and that all government agencies and all local governments use Microsoft and Copilot. Why? Microsoft has built servers in Canada on Canadian soil, and that's where we have that sovereign data. Like I said, the US has said that we'll keep your data safe, but they're also saying that if Homeland Security needs access to your data, we're going to let them. So again, is it safe? And then I talked about redacting information, uploading you know, it's pretty not important, if we upload certain types of data like say a financial statement, but if we redact all the information, the computers is just going to see numbers. So we can redact the important information so that it doesn't connect A with B to some extent. And again, we're in the early stages of AI. We have a lot of things to kind of figure out, and I think that's the fun part about a revolution, like an AI revolution, is going to be the revolt. We're always going to have this. We always have one with the other, and I think the revolt's going to be around privacy and data. But that's just my crystal ball talking.
Yeah, I think, and somebody else mentioned this, worried about losing their own identity. I think that, comes into that too, and where that revolt might come from.
I think, and I think it actually allows us to stand on our identity, right? We get to be more creative. We get to use our empathy, and we get to be more human with AI, right? I think that, AI works for each individual as a tool because of what's between your ears and what skills. Now, what do we need to teach our kids? That's a whole different discussion. But creativity, creative thinking, practical skills like networking, these are the human skills. AI can't do empathy. Humans do empathy, and that's kind of going to be the human-centric superpower that is the counterpoint to artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and it makes me think also. I mean, I completely agree with you, right? Like it's not going to replace the human aspect of us. But I also think about one of your first slides around that we're even before the chasm, which gave me a lot of I don't know. Thank you for that and reminding me of that, because sometimes I feel I'm already behind.
Yep.
And knowing that we're still in early adoption is both comforting, but also a little uncomfortable to think of what's the world going to look like in another 5-10 years. So but it also, to me, it talks to me about, like I can learn something, I can get the basic understandings, and I maybe, as I grow and go through my life, continue to tweak, but I don't need to be, and never probably am going to be, the AI expert who knows everything. And I sort of think of like car manufacturing, right? Like I can drive a car, I can change a tire, I can actually change oil. I know when something sounds wrong. I've changed light bulbs, but do I know how to change the alternator? No. Can I rebuild the engine? No. But there are people who can.
Yep.
And that's going to be an industry. And I think, though, finding that trust in those AI products, that you're comfortable driving that car, is what it's going to take to get us across that chasm.
Well, and that was kind of when ChatGPT came out right in the beginning. I mean, it was clunky and people used it like Google, right? They were doing Google queries. And now that you know the different steps, you did a Google query, AI made an assumption and then went out into the large language model and got some information and brought it back to you. And of course, a lot of people went, well, that's BS because that information isn't right, or it made a bunch of assumptions. Yeah, but it's improved dramatically since then. They've fixed a bunch of that stuff, and that's the evolution of how this AI stuff is going, and it's going to be more and more. I liken the fact that if we don't start to learn about AI, it's going to be the equivalent of not learning how to read. If we don't kind of have an understanding and a basic understanding of how, we don't need to be super scholars in the English language and Latin language and all the other stuff. We don't need to know all of that stuff, but we need to know how to speak in a language. And I think that anybody who chooses to not learn about AI, it's going to be the equivalent of not learning how to read.
Yeah. What's your sort of approach in terms of getting a product out of AI and doing that check to make sure that you mentioned that the first thing of ChatGPT was spewing out stuff that was not great, and probably, and we hear about the ChatGPT or some large language AI model makes up a source or something.
Yep.
So what's your philosophical approach or your guidance to those of us using it to how do we treat AI and check to make sure that it's it's right, or it's not leading us down the garden path to someone that's completely wrong?
Well, for one, we always have to be the human in the loop. And two, providing that context, following those, context, intent, information, response, and then asking it to clarify anything that it's going to make up, the vagueness. That's going to reduce any hallucination that it gives us. And don't mistake. And it's all in the prompting, really. Again, we can tell the prompt, only use facts. Do not make stuff up. These things are designed to be human friendly. And if it gave us a bunch of pushback and stuff, or didn't give us answers, it wouldn't be very human friendly. So they're designed, by design, they're designed to please the human that's asking the prompt. And so that's why it makes stuff up. It wants to please the human. I'm going to use a really embarrassing mistake here. I did some research as part of our partnership with the Chamber, and I went and I said, hey, Gemini, do some deep research on all 88 chambers and boards of trade and make me a table, an Excel spreadsheet of all the rates that they charge for membership. And it went out and did it. And it came back. But not every chamber. It came out with 88 people with their rates. I went, this is cool. I thought, hey, I was awesome. And I fired it off to Melissa, thinking I was pretty darn cool. Then I was like, hey, just a second, I didn't fact check that. And what it did is, in situations where chambers didn't have the information, it went out and found chambers that were like that chamber and made the assumption that those chambers were the same. So then I ran a new prompt that said, stick only to the facts. If the information's not available, give me just an NA on my chart. Well, then it came back with about 60 of them that actually have their rates on the web sheet, on their web pages, and gave me an NA where they weren't applicable. I made that mistake. And I was like, oh, right. It was in the prompt, and I made a bad prompt and it gave me a bad answer. And silly me, I fired that off to Melissa before I actually was the human in the loop and stupid proofed it. And so we still have to be that human in the loop. And even I make the mistake every now and again.
Yeah, we all do. Someone once described using AI to an event I was at is it's not a calculator, right? You put 4 times 4 in, you're not always going to get 16. I think I did that one right. Yep. Right, like it because of its adaptive and because it's predictive, it's going to give you different answers all the time. And so you can't treat it like a calculator, nor is it an autopilot. You can just set and go. You need to be the human in the loop, as you just said.
Yep.
So they said, treat it like an intern. Give it a project, give it clear instructions, and when it comes back, read it and make sure that it's not something totally outlandish because an intern decided they wanted to go off and be really impressive and use a bunch of things they don't know how to properly put the context around it. And so I thought, oh, okay, I can get my head around that. And as I become more comfortable, I'm actually training myself to be a better prompter to help my intern grow. But that intern is never supposed to become don't ever think you're going to promote that intern up to the higher up the ladder. They're always an intern. So
exactly. And that's where providing the context, clarifying ask me questions one at a time to make this a great prompt. This is why this is so important, is because that's how we would treat that intern, right? So by following that 5-step process that's on my website, that's what really will get you that intern interaction. And the idea here is, ChatGPT is going to be like 95% right if we give it all the right context and information. So yeah, treat it like an intern. Absolutely. Be the human. Be the human in the loop.
For those watching, I must say that the prompt technique of ask questions one by one something I have adopted, and I find it very, very helpful. Not only that, I can spend a little bit of time on a prompt. I can actually then start doing other things, and I'll go back to it and it'll ask me a new question. Then I'll go do something else, and then it'll come back and it will keep moving along. And all I need to do is, when I have just that 5 seconds when I'm distracted, it'll do it. So I highly endorse that one. Trevor, there's a couple questions here about asking for, maybe if you could put up could you share screen again, and the QR code slide? Maybe let's do that. Just leave that up for maybe 5 minutes for folks. Just to, so in case you hadn't seen, there was a question that came in. I answered yes, the presentation will be provided. Yes, the recording will be provided to all of you who have attended, so you can go back and you can read this. That's the QR code. The other thing about the AI Edge program is if you're a member of a Chamber of Commerce, there's a special rate. So I would encourage you, if you are interested in this, to look at that. Or if you're not a member of a Chamber of Commerce, there's many reasons to join the Chamber of Commerce. This may be another one to add to that. So I would encourage you to look at that as a possibility. Okay. So many questions here, so I'm just going to start rattling through. Maybe we'll move into some more of those pragmatic questions. What tool do you recommend for turning data into visuals or reports? I'm going to also think maybe visual reports. So is there a tool that you find most effective for something like that?
Yeah, I would, again, run it through a large language model and then give it to something called Gamma, GAMMA.app. It turns things into presentations like PowerPoints, and it also will create infographics as well. There's another one that creates very basic infographics called napkin.ai. That's really interesting. But Gemini, here's the thing about most of these little digital tools. Most of the large language models with the right prompt will do it. So if you ask Gemini, here's the data, create me an infographic, Gemini and ChatGPT will give it out to you. ChatGPT is just not as good at certain things. Again, they have different parameters, different billions of, so again, one might be better at something than the other. One might be, you might need Leonard instead of Sheldon one day. And so, you know, using different ones, but most of these individual AI tools like Gamma.app can be done. Like I could build a PowerPoint presentation in Claude, no problem, those types of things. But if you're looking for an app that does something like that, Gamma.app, napkin.ai does great infographics based on information.
So I'm going to ask a follow-up question that I think will impact a lot of these. And I was taken by, I kind of laughed to myself when you said you used AI to create AI prompts.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's very meta, as it were. So here's the question. What tool would you use to help determine what is the best tool, AI tool, for something? Perplexity.
Yeah, describe what you need that tool to have and be, and Perplexity will go out and give you 7, 5, 10 examples, and then you can, and then it'll give you the little link that you can just press the button and go check it out and then come back. Perplexity is an amazing tool. Like when you start using Perplexity, you'll never Google again. Perplexity can also be on your phone as an app, just like ChatGPT can be.
Right. And like, how do you decide, you know, they might give you multiple options. How do you decide? I mean, it's trial and error.
Yeah, well, I'm asking more clarifying questions. Says this is a great list, but it doesn't seem to answer my question. I have this specific problem that I'm looking for that specific app, and it might come up with that. The other option is create your own app. Like again, it's kind of a level 50, but you know, I created an app for a trucking company that only has a couple employees, a couple of trucks, and 5 trailers. I created an app in about 2 hours that he could manage his whole company. Basically, create a work order, send out his employees. It would do a cost analysis to see if he's profitable, and we can build those apps now in record speed. Those are not $25,000, $100,000 applications anymore. With the right tools and the right knowledge, those things can be generated in a day.
Yeah, I would imagine. And you mentioned the person who runs the dog walking business, that there's no AI that can actually walk dogs. But all that, and maybe not building an app is, as you said, that is like a level, that's like a postgraduate level course, perhaps, if this is introduction to AI 101, right?
Yeah.
This is day one of university. That's probably a fourth or postgrad class. But what about, I'm guessing that the back end work in any business, whether it's a gardening business or agriculture business or a retail business or a dog walking business, is probably the best places to start integrating AI.
It's in the mundane stuff. I mean, you obviously became a dog walker, a muffin maker, an agricultural because you like the work. You don't like the paperwork. You don't like the bookkeeping. You don't like that other stuff. So why don't we get AI to do the stuff we don't like so that we can keep doing the stuff that we do like? And I think that that's it. Like, and again, we're not all experts in all things. So for us, if we're trying to do a social media post and you're terrible at hashtags, hey, Perplexity, what are the most relevant hashtags currently going on in the dog walking industry? And it'll go out and find all of the best dog walking Instagrams and find out what all the best hashtags are. Again, we're not experts in that, but now we have a partner that can be an expert in that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try something here, Trevor. We're going to do a rapid fire.
Okay.
So you can give here are my prompts. Act as an AI expert.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you rapid fire questions. And if you don't know, say you don't know.
Okay.
And so we've got a lot of questions on what's the best tool. And I know you just said how to go about and find it in Perplexity and such, but you have a wealth of experience. So I'm going to ask you some tasks or such. What would you use?
Okay.
So designing graphs, whether they be bar, pie, flywheels, infographics.
Gemini or Gemini.
Project management.
That I would do a total customization of ChatGPT.
Okay, let's come back to that one because there was another question on that. Proofreading.
And probably Claude. Claude's much better at the English language for some reason, but all of them will do proofreading.
I'm already getting rid of rapid fire. I would say in my experience with proofreading is don't depend on AI to do proofreading. You really do need to proofread as someone who spends a lot of time writing. Okay, back to it. Formatting.
Formatting for anything like again, Claude would probably be the best formatter depending on what you're trying to format.
Okay, so Claude with an asterisk. Adding in color, I'm going to say adding some visuals. I think we already talked a little bit about that, but adding visuals.
Yep, Nano Banana, VO, Sora 2, these are all things within ChatGPT and within Gemini that create amazing visuals, and they give them fun names.
Okay. Recruitment.
Yeah, see, again, a total customization of ChatGPT to teach it how to be an HR person for your company.
Okay. Maybe that's a good spot. I think I covered a lot of them here, but maybe that's a good spot. There was a question from someone. I'm scrolling. Oh my goodness, all these questions. This is awesome. It was talk to us about the doing, what was it? Projects, unique projects in ChatGPT. I've lost it now. I'm sorry. I'm going up and down here.
I can just talk generally.
Yes. Explain custom GPT projects.
Okay, so ChatGPT, everybody's just driving a white pickup if you haven't customized it. If we go into ChatGPT, there is actually customizations. So we can tell ChatGPT to speak in our style. And so I did something with Alex. I had ChatGPT analyze some of his writing style, and we uploaded that writing style into a certain part of ChatGPT to customize it so Alex's ChatGPT sounds like Alex when it comes to outputs. One of the other things you can say in there is use Canadian spelling, vernacular, and those types of things, speak, right in Canadian, because so it's color with an OUR instead of an OR. And that is one way for us to see if somebody's using a white pickup truck in ChatGPT. People don't go out there and customize it. That's literally taking your white pickup and painting it blue. Then also giving it the context of what we do. And so then that does creates the logo on the side of the pickup. So now ChatGPT is custom for you. And that's kind of step one. Step two, GPTs are like little agents that do things. Like that little agent that builds me a prompt, that's a GPT. And there's a specific way of building those. Now, maybe GPTs just become part of the overall part of ChatGPT, but maybe I want to have a little project. Now, I sit on the board of directors for my local chamber. So I want to keep all the chamber stuff in a little box. And so that's why I use a project. And so I keep all my Smithers Chamber stuff inside that project. I also write an article for the Haida Trader. I keep that as a project because I want to keep track of what that looks like. So when a project is literally that. When I have a certain project I want to have ChatGPT to do, I add that. Now, why is this important? Because when we build good projects and good GPTs with a little s, your prompting is less important because we provide more context within the instructions of the customization, and we can add knowledge. We can add files. For instance, I have one that writes emails on the style of Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. Now, I've gone and done deep research about Chris Voss. He's got lots of information online. I've bought his book about 20 times. And so in my GPT, I have built a Chris Voss. And that's something you can't do in the basic version of ChatGPT.
Okay, that's helpful. And you can just go in on the ChatGPT and click, I think it's new project.
If you pay for it. But there's some nuance on how to make that work. Doing a regular chat, doing a GPTs chat, and doing a project chat, all those steps that I talked about don't necessarily happen in the same order, and that's kind of the nuance that needs to be learned. That's kind of part of that literacy, that education, is to how to get those things set up so that they can work for you.
So let's just build on that, maybe, Trevor. What would you recommend small businesses? And this was a question that we've received here, and I think it's a great one. Right. How do you recommend small businesses begin that process to evaluate which AI tools are going to deliver ROI to their business, versus, AI hype here?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe is that something, and is that something that's covered in AI Edge, or is it? Talk to us about how you would recommend a small business begin this evaluation.
Absolutely. The AI Edge is going to get you to understand how the tools are used and understand where to use those tools so that you can stand back in your business and go, okay, these are the tasks that I want AI to do. I want AI to handle my marketing. So I'm going to create a marketing GPTs, or I'm going to create a marketing project. And that's how, right off the bat, that's going to be the most value. I said you need to learn 3 things, and that's one, you need to learn a large language model, and you could use ChatGPT, Claude, or whatever. But we need to get proficient in the language of artificial intelligence. We need to get proficient in how they function. They predict, they make guesses, but we have to learn how to make them do guesses that are 97% correct, and with our context. And that's something that you learn in the AI Edge. And then we need to, again, have that mindset. It's easy to revert back to the old way of doing things because you're comfortable with that. We have to have a future ready mindset that we're going to learn this, because you know what? If I don't, I'm going to be left behind. And so that mindset, and your whole team has to have that. And that's going to require some curiosity, but it's going to also have to have some management stuff. That's the AI Edge is an AI program, but we also teach you how to roll that out to your team in the AI Edge. The second half of the AI Edge is about, instead of it's about me, we teach about we. How are we going to put this in my business? That's the whole second half of the AI 10 or the AI Edge program. It goes from the me to the we part. First, I have to learn it, and then we're going to have to figure out how we are going to apply it to our business. And that's what we're trying to accomplish in AI Edge. We tried to create a program that gets through that AI slop and all that messy stuff, and we keep it simple. I mean, we want you to be future ready, and we want to do it in simple terms.
Well, I think for a lot of businesses, understanding the best way to roll that out from the me to the we, or from the you to the we, is, I think, going to be very advantageous, and what a lot of folks are going to be wanting.
Yep.
You've mentioned a lot around the LLMs, large language models. Do you recommend? And there's another question. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Do you recommend learning more than one LLM, or is it just you need one LLM and then the other tools that are different, or are like
the user interface, the interaction with any large language model is going to be exactly the same. You need to become a good prompter. And I could build that prompt builder in Gemini. I could build that prompt builder in Claude. I've built it in ChatGPT because I think it's the Swiss Army knife, and it's probably 6 months ahead of everybody with, GPTs and projects. Not to say that we can't have GPTs and projects and other models, because they exist. But if we learn how to use one model to do prompting, but the idea of learning how to do a good prompt is it's the same across all large language models. Each one has a different 60 billion parameters of information. So if we stick the same question, the same big prompt in each one of those, we're going to get a vastly different answer from each one of them, because their transformer is different, because the data in the model itself is different, and it's going to give us different results. I like to say it's got personality. That's why I compare it to the Big Bang. Sometimes Sheldon's not the guy we need. Sometimes we need Wolowitz. And that's kind of weird, but that's where Grok comes in.
Right. So I hate to put you on the spot, and maybe I'm trying to Trevor, you're welcome to push back on me. Are there two? I think we hear ChatGPT is sort of the Swiss Army knife. What are the two others that you would recommend small businesses start to think about integrating and using?
From an infrastructure perspective, and I'm going to give this, I think Gemini is going to be one of the ones that makes it through the chasm. I think ChatGPT, because it's got Microsoft behind it, it's going to make it through the chasm, and maybe Claude. But Copilot, if you have access to Copilot, Copilot's improved a whole lot in the last 2 months, even compared to when it first came out. It's still clunky. It's still penny in the conversation, but Copilot within Excel is amazing. Copilot within Word is amazing. Outside of that, it's still a little bit clunky, but I would suggest that, ChatGPT, I think you should pay for one. I would pay for ChatGPT and kind of get your legs under you. And then if you decide that, hey, I need a different personality to help me with my business, maybe you go to Claude, but you've already understood the basics. You know how to large language model, how to interact with it. You're going to end up at Claude or Gemini with much more confident, and you're going to have much better outputs.
A couple other questions come in around specific tasks, which I'm going to ask because I missed in the rapid fire.
Sure.
Bookkeeping, daily, weekly finance tasks.
Yeah.
Is there a product you have seen that's been?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually at a month ago. I was at the National Bookkeeping Conference for the PBC, the Bookkeeping Association then. And it's interesting that, there's lots of tools that you can work with Sage, QuickBooks Online, and others like Dext, like HubDoc, those ones where you can just send information to, it'll gobble up that information, it will edit it, and then you need to be the human in the loop and say, yes, that's the right GL account. There are some great things there, but even just in generality, you could upload a redacted financial statement into a large language model and say, create me an output that I can use. And that could be in the form of a monthly report or a weekly report. It just depends on how we want that data to go back and forth and what modality we want to use with those reports. But bookkeeping is one of those ones that's 50%, 46% of that bookkeeping is going to go be automated by artificial intelligence. What are you going to be as a bookkeeper? You're going to be a trusted advisor to your clients. You can be more present for them. I think that bookkeeping is going to be a really, really great AI adopter.
Yeah, well, and they're going to be able to provide a lot more service to more clients as a result if you integrate it.
Yep.
The other big one I've seen here, I have it personally, I struggle with it. My inbox is overflowing, and I had this, I don't know about you, every so often I wake up and I go, I forgot to respond to that email.
Yeah. So yeah, no, again, so this change that just happened, so this new web browser that OpenAI came out with just this week is gonna probably solve part of that problem. We're gonna give OpenAI, and again, I'm gonna do this with an asterisk. I'm not gonna say race out and do it. There's still unanswered privacy between my inbox and OpenAI. There's stuff that we haven't figured out yet. So I'm gonna put a big asterisk on this and say, I don't know, but ChatGPT is now going to be able to link with your Gmail or with other stuff to help you with that. There are other programs like Fixer.ai that I'm sure that you got some. Those work pretty good. They're expensive though. SaneBox is another one that's an AI-driven email. But really, really quickly, our large language model, our web browser is going to be able to, and the one that the ChatGPT's web browser is called Atlas. We're going to be able to link our calendar, our tasks, and our email to it, and agentic AI will then go and read the email and go and write the email, and then ask us for the approval to send the email. And we're not quite there yet, but we're really, really close. And so with a big asterisk, it exists. I'm not recommending it just yet because we're not sure of where the data is.
Well, I'm sorry we haven't been able to get to everybody's questions. I would really like to probably spend another 5 hours with you, Trevor. But for those of you who are interested in a little bit more training, the AI Edge program, which was that was the QR code there. Go check that out. Strongly recommend that. Also, potentially becoming a member of your local chamber of commerce. And I had another thought in my head, and it's popped out. I need AI to prompt me on my thoughts there. Anyway, thank you, Trevor Bruintjes,
No problem.
for your very informative presentation. Once again, I've learned lots after another session with you. And thank you to everybody for your questions. I'm sorry we weren't able to get to all of them, but I hope you found some tools or tips or tricks. And when you do, I would, I guess, echo what Trevor said. When you get the presentation, print out that slide that's got the prompts on it. That'll really change your experience with AI. Before we end the session today, I would like to introduce Paul Siow, Program Manager for BC Hydro and our presenting sponsor for the Small Business Week, to say a few words and share some information about their energy savings programs. Paul.
Thanks, Alex. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, so I'm Paul Siow. I'm the Senior Program Manager here at BC Hydro, and I work in the commercial sector. So thanks, Alex, and thanks for BC Chamber of Commerce for this great opportunity. You know, I've been working with the small business sector since I joined Hydro way back in 2004. And in fact, I'm glad to say this is our actual third year to support BC Chamber of Commerce for their Small Business Week. And Trevor, just one word in terms of your presentation. Wow. Like, I learned more in that 1 hour than I've ever known about AI. So that's quite amazing. So thank you for that.
No problem. And if anybody else needs a speaker, I'm happy to oblige.
Yeah, no, it was really, really good. So just from an energy perspective, I don't know if you know this, Trevor, AI actually takes 10 times more energy required than a standard Google search. So, and with the increase of like AI queries, the increase of data servers to support these queries, cryptocurrency, we have like EV adoption, electrification, large population growth in BC, we still have enough power, enough capacity in our grid system to serve the market. but we are forecasting by 2032, the market demand is going to exceed our infrastructure to be able to serve the market. So what are we doing now? We're offering solutions today to help meet the challenges of tomorrow. So consider me your AI search on how can BC Hydro support my business. So since 1989, BC Hydro has supported small, medium businesses with energy efficiency projects. Just in the last year, we launched a new concept called demand response. So demand response is during peak grid periods, we're asking the market to shift or shed their energy use. And by doing that, we will offer you incentives and rewards. So one of the offers I do want to promote very quickly is our behavioral offer. It starts November 1st and goes to the end of March. You go to our website, you register, and what happens is a day before we're forecasting a grid peak period, we'll send an email saying, hey, tomorrow between 4 and 8, can you adjust your energy consumption? And at the end of the season, based on how much you reduce, we will pay you $50 per kilowatt. The kilowatt is just a unit of measurement that we use. And the average incentive we paid out last year for all of a participating customer was about $1,200. But the reward that we pay at the end of the season is based on how much energy you can save. So on top of the behavioral offer, we also have incentives that we could pay up to 80% for a battery system. And we also give incentives if you want to install a smart thermostat at your small, medium business that allows us to manage during peak periods. So all this information can be found at bchydro.com/DR for business, demand response for business. So DR for business. So take a look, go to our landing page, and all the information is there for you. So I'll send it back to Alex.
Thanks, Paul. That's great information, and I mean, I'm glad you raised the energy consumption aspect of AI. It's a big part of that conversation, and I'm not surprised, but I'm also really pleased to say and hear that BC Hydro's thinking about that and trying to come up with ways to address that moving forward. And the demand response program. I think most small businesses would love to receive even a $1,200 check if they can save some money. So sounds like, and I'm not trying to do a big sale job for BC Hydro here, but it kind of sounds like it's risk-free potential dollars for small business, even if you don't save money, or if you don't, it's the possibility of saving money. Anyway, thank you, Paul, and thank you very much for your support once again for the third year, as you said, for this BC Small Business Week Summit. Also like to once again thank Chambers Plan Employee Benefits, the Immigrant Employment Council of BC, and BCIT School of Business and Media. So thanks very much, everybody, for joining. We hope to see you tomorrow for our final session, which is entitled From Everyday Actions to Big Change, Putting Purpose to Work in Small Business. If you haven't registered, please feel free to do so over at bcchamber.org. You can find it in the events page. And with that, thank you for joining us today. Thank you again to Trevor Bruintjes for your presentation. I hope everyone has a great, safe, happy day, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Have a great day, everybody.